O Mother Nui, stretch high above this valley. Your starry body is our glory. Then see the hawk of yonder Rahur quit, his fiery splendor, oh so mighty. He brings a light for all our weary souls. He makes the broken spirit whole.
Okay, so looking at this stack of research you sent us, we're doing a deep dive into esoteric cosmology today. And, usually you picture ancient wisdom on dusty scrolls guarded by, mystic philosophers.
Right, yeah.
But the most famous manual on mastering the universe wasn't written in ancient Greece. It was penned in 1908 by a pragmatic American attorney named William Walker Atkinson, which is wild.
It really is a massive shift in perspective. You really have to separate Atkinson's highly goal-oriented framework, which is called the Kybalion, from the, deeply contemplative corpus hermeticum of ancient Hellenistic Egypt.
Right, they're two very different things.
Exactly. And this deep dive focuses on Atkinson's evolved synthesis, mainly because it maps incredibly closely to modern scientific discovery.
Okay.
Which is just fascinating.
So to actually change your reality, you first have to understand its unchangeable architectural rules, right? The text breaks this down into 3 immutable laws. And let's start with mentalism, the idea that the all is mind.
Yeah, that's the foundational piece.
Right. And instead of the old we live in a simulation trope, your notes frame this more like a non-local consciousness field, where, physical matter is just a localized, dense vibration of that overarching mind.
Which naturally brings in the principle of vibration.
Yeah, the idea that nothing rests, everything moves.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, actually made a similar argument. He stated consciousness is fundamental and matter is just a derivative.
Wow.
Yeah, and when you combine mentalism and vibration, you see it playing out in human biology too. Like cellular biologist Dr. Bruce Lipton points out that in the placebo effect, when your mind expects healing, it changes the vibrational frequency of your biology.
Literally altering your cells to match the mental expectation. That's crazy.
It really is.
So if consciousness is the foundational code, then we should see that exact same architecture repeating at every level of reality, which brings us to correspondence, or as above, so below.
Right, fractals. You can actually see this playing out in advanced astrophysics right now through the holographic principle.
Wait, how does that work?
Well, astrophysicists are finding that the map describing a 3-dimensional volume of space is actually encoded on its 2-dimensional boundary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So theoretically, the blueprint of the entire universe is compressed into a single microscopic particle. The geometry of the whole is mathematically embedded in the part.
Okay, so since you can't break those 3 structural rules, the text argues you have to leverage them to command the 4 mutable laws, the ones you can actually manipulate, so you aren't just a helpless victim of circumstance.
Right, which are polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender.
Yeah, and by understanding polarity, that opposites like heat and cold are just varying degrees of the same thing, you can theoretically slide your mind along that scale. And with cause and effect, you learn to be the cause rather than the effect. But I have to push back on rhythm.
Oh. Where's the friction for you on that one?
Well, rhythm says everything has tides, right? The universe naturally swings like a pendulum.
Yes, exactly.
Doesn't that mean you are biologically doomed? I mean, if you experience intense joy, the pendulum has to swing back, crashing you into despair. You're trapped on a hedonic treadmill of highs and lows.
It sounds like a trap, I know. But Hermeticism offers a loophole here called the law of neutralization.
A loophole. Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. So by achieving a state of mindful detachment, what they call observer mode, you elevate your consciousness above the physical swing.
Oh, I see.
The pendulum still swings on the physical plane,
Yeah.
right? But you observe the sensation rather than getting emotionally crushed by the returning momentum.
So it's not about stopping the pendulum. It's about shifting your weight so you don't get knocked over by it.
That is a perfect way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But how does that internal energy management play into the final law, gender? And just to be clear for you listening, we aren't talking about biological sex here.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
We're looking at the energetic forces of the masculine and feminine within everything. The masculine principle is directive. So logic, willpower, projection. While the feminine principle is creative, like intuition, emotion, gestation.
Kind of like Carl Jung's archetypes.
Exactly like that. Jung echoed this concept with his anima and animus. The ultimate masterpiece of psychological wholeness is balancing those internal energies.
You need both to function fully.
Right. You need the masculine directive force to plant the seed and the feminine creative force to incubate and birth it into reality.
So what does this all mean for you? I mean, distilling your research down, these principles aren't just occult parlor tricks.
Not at all.
When combined, they form an interdisciplinary operating system, right? A blueprint for achieving extreme psychological resilience.
Yeah, it is a mechanism for stepping out of passive reaction and into deliberate creation, leveraging the rules rather than being crushed by them.
Which leaves you with this entirely new thread to ponder. If these hermetic principles map so perfectly onto human psychology and quantum physics, wait, let me rephrase. What happens when we start coding artificial intelligence with these same immutable laws?
Oh, that's a wild thought.
Right? Will an AI eventually develop a spontaneous mind simply because its architecture perfectly mimics the universal framework?